Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And today I'm coming to you with yet another tag, the E tag, created by Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. He was kind enough to tag me in this original tag that he made. So yeah, as they say, let's jump right into it. So all the prompts are to do with the letter E, and he starts off saying E is for Ernest. What is the importance of being Hemingway? That's not a real prompt, that's just a little joke. So next, E is for elephant. What is the biggest book you have read this year? Well, so far I haven't actually read any big books. I kind of failed in my mammoth reading task. I think it was The Vietnam War by Max Hastings, an excellent book, but really very long and quite hard going in just one sitting, one reading, if you know what I mean. So I put that on the back burner, and up to now, the biggest book I've read was only a paltry 400 pages, and that was Checkmate in Berlin by Giles Milton, which I've talked about in other videos. Next, E is for English. Who do you consider the greatest English novelist? Very difficult. I'm going back in time for this, I think. I would have said the likes of Arthur Conan Doyle or Robert Louis Stevenson. However, of course, they are, although British, they are not English. So I went with, I think, probably quite a common answer for many people, which is Charles Dickens. It's hard not to choose him, really, given the breadth of his work and the amazing and memorable characters he created. And, you know, he holds such influence, I think, even today. Everybody knows who he is, and probably everybody has at least read or seen one of his stories in one form or another. So I think it would be fair to say Charles Dickens. Next, if English is not your first language, what was the first book you read in English? Well, apart from a smattering of Welsh, apparently I picked up as a small baby, because I was plopped in front of the television while my mother did the hoovering, and she left on the television, and a Welsh language soap opera would come on, and apparently nobody knew what I was saying because I picked up all these words, and luckily a neighbour of my grandmother was Welsh, and she said that's what it was. So perhaps there's an argument to be made that my first couple of words were not English, but I am a native English speaker. Though I'll answer this question with regards to another language, and the first book I read fully in another language was a German translation of Matilda by Roald Dahl, which a friend of mine gave me, and as I knew the book well from childhood, I thought I would give it a go, and I read it in German, and it was good. Yeah. So next, E is for Elantris. What is your favourite book or series by Brandon Sanderson? Well, I have to confess, I don't know. I've seen his name around a lot in this corner of BookTube of ours, and perhaps I might be ostracised, but I've never read a book by Brandon Sanderson, and I don't really know who he is. I know, obviously, a fantasy writer from what I've seen, but I don't know anything about him, so I apologise to everyone for that. And if you really recommend him, then please give me a good starting point for a novice or a newcomer to Brandon Sanderson. Well, you can probably hear that drop on the floor there. That's Elvis trying to give me a toy. He always has this habit when I come into this room that he has to run in and give me something to throw him. It's very cute, of course, but it makes it difficult with when I have lessons. So quite often, unfortunately, when I'm having my lessons, he is shut out of this room. Otherwise, excuse me, I'll just throw it to him. You'll see him in a minute anyway, because he falls into one of the prompts. Okay, so yes, my appalling lack of having read Brandon Sanderson. All right, well, maybe that can be remedied. Next, E is for experimental. Have you read any experimental books? Well, I thought this was quite hard to define. I mean, what exactly is an experimental book? I mean, obviously, you can say it's a book that experiments, I guess, with style and language and things like that. I had to Google what people regarded as experimental novels, and I did find that apparently American Psycho is one of them. American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, and I have read that. And I suppose if you can count the likes of Interior Chinatown and HHHH, both of which I read this year. Then I have read a couple of experimental novels and probably others, although I may not have been aware at the time that they were what is classed as experimental. E is for ebooks. Do you prefer physical books or ebooks? Well, ideally, I prefer physical books. I like the touch and feel and smell of them. I like the way that I can actually see my progress as I'm reading. Also, going back to the first real prompt, what's the biggest book you read this year? On a physical book, you feel that, you get that sense of accomplishment. On an ebook, perhaps you don't, because you don't really notice the size of it when you're reading it as an ebook. But for practical purposes, being someone who lives abroad and has travelled a bit, ebooks are certainly very, very useful, and they're much easier as well to read at night without having to have on a lamp, especially in the summer months, so I don't have to worry about insects coming in attracted to the bedside lamp while I've got the windows open, trying to cool down. So yes, I like both of them. They both have their positive sides for me. E is for exploration. What's your favourite travel book? Well, this is extremely difficult because travel is probably one of my favourite genres, especially if you mix travel with history. So I have too many to mention. But I will mention a few of them. One of them, of course, is Ryszard Kapuscinski's Travels with Herodotus, which has been mentioned before, not only by me but a few other people. And it is the Polish journalists and writers following in the footsteps, so to speak, of Herodotus, the so-called father of history, whose book, The Histories, we will be buddy reading next month with a few of my good friends from BookTube. So I'm really looking forward to that. Others that I really like, Paul Theroux's The Great Railway Bazaar, Eric Newby, A Short Walk in the Hindu Kush, John Steinbeck, A Russia Journal. Actually, I think it was the first video I made for BookTube, so if you're curious to see what it was like, I guess about 4 months ago, you can check that out because I tried to review it. And it's an excellent book. I really recommend it. Another Paul Theroux, Dark Star Safari, and then one I really, really enjoyed as well, which is Tony Horwitz's Blue Latitudes, boldly going where Captain Cook has gone before, and that's a travel story where Tony Horwitz follows in the footsteps of the intrepid Captain Cook, and it's a very well written book and a nice tribute to a great man. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is E is for Elaine. If you have grandkids, kids, pets, etc., beginning with the letter E, and you want to show them, this is your opportunity. So I will cut to some gratuitous footage of Elvis. So there's Elvis and I on one of our walks just the other day, and you can see there our lovely town castle in the background. I suppose it's more of a chateau, isn't it, than a castle, but there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that. Next one, E is for elf. What's your favourite fantasy creature? I don't read a lot of fantasy, as you probably know if you do watch this channel quite often. And especially as you saw to my answer of not really knowing who Brandon Sanderson is. But I suppose if I went with fantasy creatures, I would go with vampires. I've always found them interesting. I really enjoyed that book, Let the Right One In. The author's name escapes me, but that was about vampires, and I did read that. And I very much like the Night Watch series, which does also include some vampires. If I went for the scariest mythical creature, it would have to be the Jabberwocky from Lewis Carroll. It scared me very much as a kid. Actually, it scares me even now. So I don't really know why I brought it up. Actually, I must have been a bit stupid to do that. So, whoa, even thinking of it's horrible. I guess maybe my scary image comes more from the 1980s Alice in Wonderland miniseries. That was I can't remember exactly when it was out, but the Jabberwocky part of that was particularly terrifying. I suppose for me, two of the scariest things I've seen on television, which bother me even to this day, and I'm in my 40s, early 40s, I might add, are the Jabberwocky from Alice in Wonderland and the child catcher from the old Chitty Chitty Bang Bang film. Ooh, gosh, don't even like to think of them even now. Next one is E is for extraterrestrial. What's your favourite book about another world, or your favourite planet, real or fictitious? I suppose my favourite book, I mentioned actually perhaps in my last tag video, was Cosmos by Carl Sagan. I thought that was a fantastic book, well written, very informative and extremely interesting, about the cosmos. And as I say, I don't read a lot of fantasy or science fiction, so it's hard for me to come up with that. If I choose a planet, I would go with Saturn, because I do think it just looks extremely beautiful with its various rings and moons and whatnot. Okay, coming up to the last one. E is for Exodus. What is the most interesting book you have read about an Exodus? Well, the book I'm going to mention is not actually written about or entirely about an Exodus. It's Indian Summer, The Secret History of the End of an Empire by Alex von Tunselmann. And it's a really, really interesting book. It's a kind of biography about, triple biography about Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, and Mahatma Gandhi. And in that, of course, there's a section devoted to the partition of India, which of course did lead to a massive exodus and the deaths of many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people, as the Muslims left India to go to Pakistan and Hindus left Pakistan to go to India. Or I should say, Pakistan of course didn't exist before the partition, so it's the new state of Pakistan then. So there we have it. That's the E tag. Thank you very much, Jim. Sorry it took me so long to do it, but I got there in the end. And I suppose I should tag a couple of people. I don't really know who's done it and who hasn't, but I will tag Faith from Faith and Books. I will tag Christina, Knitting Books, etc. Vin, Revenant Reads. Who else? Summer, Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats, and Sina at Beating Around the Books. So yeah, there we go. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll be back soon. All the best. Bye-bye.